This is actually the second time I'm recording this video. I even started editing it when I decided to... Now, you might be wondering, why did the whole thing? Well, I realized I was drifting away from the original vision I have for this channel. You see, my main inspiration for copy games is Devlog. In my opinion, his videos are the perfect balance between technical, productivity, and everyday life. He creates videos that are engaging for both technical and casual people. And I firmly believe you should make videos you'll want to watch yourself. So when I noticed this video was turning into a technical, chaotic mess, I knew it was time to start over. With that said, welcome back to another Farm Invader video. Since last devlog, a lot has happened. First, I participated in a game jam and managed to place in the top 50% of participating games, which was pretty exciting. Next, I bought a DDR machine, it's been my new obsession lately. Also, I finally added music and sound effects to Farm Invader. It's a small update, but it makes a big difference in the overall feel of the game, and I added this attempt of an options menu. For sound effects, I use a combination of assets from itch.io, plus some sounds I created with chiptone. Honestly, I spent about 10 minutes doing this. For the music, I used a track I found on opengamer.com, and I edited it to create perfect loops, and I'm pretty happy with how the sound effects and music turned out. Listen to this cow. To be honest, music and sound aren't exactly my strengths. As a web developer and watercolor artist, I feel pretty confident when it comes to coding and visual design, but when it comes to sound, it's a lot of trial and error. Mostly error. But hey, that's how we learn, right? But enough about music, let's pour ourselves a coffee and dive into the visuals. Before we jump into the fun stuff, I just want to quickly ask you to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy devlogs or want to learn more about game development, I've got more content planned. Every like, comment and subscription really means a lot to me. Anyway, coffee's ready, let's get back to the video. Everything started with post-processing. For those unfamiliar, post-processing is essentially a fancy term for shaders, a way to manipulate visuals through code after the game is rendered by Godot. As I mentioned in my previous devlog, I wanted my game to have an old school arcade vibe, and since I barely know anything about coding shaders, I went to godotshaders.com and borrowed some CRT shaders from there. I created a frame, and just like that, my game was already looking pretty good. I also added some particle effects to the beam and abductions. With post-processing particles and sound, my game was already looking much better, but there was still something that needed my attention, and I know you know what it is. The options menu. Since my game music and post-processing are set up as a global scene, tweaking those values was pretty straightforward. I decided to split the options into two different tabs, one for the sound and one for the visuals. I included a restore settings button to the video options, just in case things get a little too crazy. And with that, the options menu was looking much better. But it didn't stop there. I added an options menu too, so players can tweak the settings mid-game and jump back to the main menu whenever they need to. And honestly, you tell me if this doesn't look way better now. There was one last thing I wanted to tackle before shipping this version of the game: high scores. You see, the current score system isn't really a system at all. Whenever you finish the game, your high score will just be your final score, no tracking, no saving. So I knew I had to figure out how to save and retrieve high scores. And of course, I immediately thought leaderboards, because nothing screams arcade more than a leaderboard. To be honest, I had no idea how to save data on a web-hosted game, so I turned to my old friend Google. As expected, scores are saved just like any other data on websites, with a backend server. There are many alternatives for this. One option is to build your own server and database, using something like MySQL to store data and an Node.js backend to handle the communication. But I chose to go with Silentwolf. Silentwolf is a plugin with a collection of backend services built specifically for Godot engine, and it offers built-in leaderboard functionality. It's super straightforward to set up. You just download the add-on, drop it into the game folder and configure it with the provided API key. The part that actually took the most time was setting up the UI for saving scores. Maybe my approach wasn't the best, but these are actually labels. I saved the active label and updated its text based on what the player types. I also created a global function to store all the scores and track the lowest one. So, when the player hits a new high score, it prompts the save score screen. Finally, I built the leaderboard menu, which is basically just a list of names and numbers. Simple, but it works. It didn't take more than a few days to get everything up and running, and honestly, I'm really happy with the result. Although, after some playtesting, I noticed the game loop can feel a little slow and repetitive sometimes. I've got some ideas to improve that, but I will save that for a future video. After all, we are still in beta. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and drop a comment below. You can play the latest version of my game using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!